Hello and welcome, it's Megaraptor, and today I'm here with a update to the biggest theropods. This is the Vividend's list of 2023, the megatheropods. Theropods with 5 metric tons plus. So, now it's 2025 and we haven't yet had an update video from him. So let's just correct the video by ourselves. I'm using some new skeletals from paleo artists and also some size estimates from you guys. We've also had some new descriptions, some new additions, and some absolutely giant specimens of already existing megatheropod genuses. Let's get right into it.
Theropod dinosaurs are the most charismatic terrestrial predators in Earth's history, with complex ecologies, physiologies, and evolutionary relationships. From movies to books to video games, theropods have left a cultural footprint unlike any other group of extinct vertebrates.
This is before he had to
And
go
even
back.
these terrifying and majestic animals have an elite group within them, the megatheropods. If all theropods formed the ranks of a military, then these are the officers, the generals, and the supreme commanders. There are a few definitions floating around the internet about what exactly a megatheropod is, so here's a modified version of mine from 2017. A megatheropod is any theropod dinosaur that consistently attains an average adult mass of 5,000 kilograms or higher. This definition is more exclusionary than my old video, and that's because while researching this, I put an emphasis on consistency and utilizing multiple mass estimates per species from different sources, which I've linked in the description. I've split megatheropods into 4 different tiers: soldiers, knights, artillery, and destroyers. Megatheropods from all different clades slot into these tiers, so we're going to start with reviewing those in the soldier tier and work our way up, learning cool facts about each animal in the roster until we get to the top. We'll also assign each species a Jerry score, or how many average bull African bush elephants it takes to equal the mass of each megatheropod. Why a Jerry score, you may ask? Our elephant's name is Jerry. Say hi to Jerry. He weighs 5,374 kilograms, and Stupendemus is his favorite animal.
I like turtles.
That meme was so random right here. So we're starting with the Cimmerian giant. Okay. This animal has not been assigned to a genus yet, I think.
First entry in the soldier tier is the Cimmerian giant, specimen name PRC61. Described in 2012 from a maxilla and some incomplete teeth found in Thailand, its position on the theropod family tree is uncertain. It was estimated at about 5,000 kilograms, which barely meets the requirement for inclusion in the megatheropod elite force. But hey, it made it. Saurophagonix, which may be Epantarius.
So, first update here. Saurophagonix is no longer a theropod, or at least there has been the proposal that Saurophagonix maximus is now a sauropod, and for now we call it Allosaurus annex. And Allosaurus annex would be around or over 5 metric tons. Allosaurus annex could now be about 4 to 5 metric tons around the soldier tier, or really, if this Leviathan specimen is still Allosaurus annex, then maybe even 8 metric tons in the destroyer tier. Post it in the comments if you know anything more about the biggest Allosaurus annex specimen.
Simplexus, which may be Allosaurus, is next to join the soldier ranks because we're not quite sure where it belongs size-wise for now. Dan Folks, in a recent blog, indicated based on some photos of OMNH bones that some of Saurophagonix's measurements were comparable to the Giganotosaurus holotype. It's conservatively placed in the soldier tier for now because we don't have the hard data necessary to calculate a true size. But as more information comes to light, it's possible that the Morrison Formation giant gets bumped up a couple tiers. Plus, the idea of a gigantic Allosaurid running around Jurassic North America is super awesome. Edmarker Rex, or is it a giant Torvosaurus, is a welcome addition to the elite forces of theropoddom.
Well, Edmarker Rex has also not been assigned to another genus or described, I think.
Mega-sized megalosaurid at 5,200 kilograms, it looks like a monitor lizard got hit with a gamma bomb. Described by Robert Bacher in 1992, it was said that it rivaled T-Rex in total length, although it didn't have the same bulk. It's wonderful to see lesser-known theropod clades get some love. Chinese paleontology has certainly been incredibly successful in the past few decades, bringing us some of the best bird fossils in the world, but the Middle Kingdom also sports its fair share of giant predators. NHMG 8500 is an enormous tooth, comparable in size to the biggest carcharodontosaurs and tyrannosaurs, but appears
If it's just a tooth, still, it hasn't been described.
to have belonged to an enormous megaraptoran. Another giant Chinese theropod, Zhusheng tyrannus, doesn't quite seem to consistently hit the 5-ton mark required for inclusion on this.
So, Zhusheng tyrannus, by the way, you guys have been commenting 5.87 metric tons. But it's not been consistently over 5 metric tons. Still, it should be mentioned. The same goes for Tarbosaurus batar. They both could surpass the 5 metric ton mark. Meraxes would also be a case, and Maip macrophorax as well. But Maip macrophorax, it's not safe to say, and Meraxes has now a bigger specimen we're gonna talk about later, because it might be bigger than the Giganotosaurus holotype, or around the size.
List, but if we get more material, I wouldn't be surprised if that changed. Its megaraptoran comrade, on the other hand, will represent China for now. Oxalia, may it rest in peace, is the largest in the soldier tier at approximately 6,000 kilograms. It's a huge Brazilian spinosaurid known only from 2 referred maxillae, which may have been destroyed in the National Museum fire of 2018. I wait for the day when we as a society will be worthy of finding more referable material for this incredible animal. Now on to the night tier. Acrocanthosaurus atacans.
This is a pretty good size estimate, around 6 metric tons plus. It has been around for a while for Acrocanthosaurus.
This is one of my personal favorite theropods. This sail-backed North American predator actually has its own holiday. Acrocanthosaurus Appreciation Day is November 11th, for those of you who didn't know. It has such an edgy design, like if the band Evanescence were reincarnated as a carcharodontosaurid. The claws, the jaws, the pose. A 2005 study indicated that it would have used its arms as massive hooks to rip out chunks of flesh in its prey. Hard to get more metal than that. Dinochirus mirificus recently.
Dinochirus could be over 7 metric tons from what I've heard. More conservative size estimates are around 6 to 7 metric tons, but there are some that claim over 7 metric tons.
Stole the spotlight in Prehistoric Planet, and for good reason. Its final description in 2014 solved the mystery of what its massive arms were for, revealing its true nature as a specialized ornithomimosaur instead of the Godzilla-sized carnivorous demon that had been theorized for so long. Why they thought it made sense to compare a pair of super long arms to tyrannosaurs, I don't know, but the real animal is much more interesting than just another giant carnivore. While it coexisted with giant predators such as Tarbosaurus, it itself would have eaten plants, fish, and other small animals. Don't mistake it for a gentle giant, however. This critter could lay a smackdown on anything in its environment that mistook it for lunch. Those claws are not messing around. Therizinosaurus calaniformis, despite what its name may imply, is not a turtle. It's more of a
These size estimates are still good for Therizinosaurus, I'd say. Oh lol, my cam is over the... how do we put this best? 6,300 kilograms, that's better. Otherwise you don't see the kilograms on screen.
titanic reptilian ground sloth with scythe-like claws adapted for scraping leaves off of branches and potentially using as tools for display and defense. It lived alongside Dinochirus, and I'm sure that the two animals built clubhouses together and had sleepovers to celebrate that they were the only megatheropods in the neighborhood that didn't exclusively eat meat. Next up, we have Megalosaurus ingens, which also may or may not be a huge Torvosaurus.
Still not described or assigned to another genus, I believe.
Species. Based on a huge claw from Tanzania, it's another one of those fragmentary giants whose size could fluctuate depending on future material. Molina Perez and Larramendi estimated it at 6,400 kilograms in 2019, however, so in this case we have actual numbers to go off of. By the way, the art in this book is amazing. If you don't own a copy, go buy one, or ask Santa for it, either way. Carcharodontosaurus saharicus is a...
So, Carcharodontosaurus has some size estimates around 8.2 metric tons, so it would definitely go in the destroyer tier at the very start. Just a bit smaller than Spinosaurus, which would be around probably 8.3 metric tons max. These are very conservative size estimates. I've also used these in the past, and you guys corrected me promptly in the comments.
Complicated little weasel. Its shark teeth are instantly recognizable and has been depicted in a famous documentary series, but we really don't have a lot of information about the animal itself. The North African giant was once touted as the largest theropod ever, but recent calculations based on its more complete relative Meraxes gigas place it at just over 6,500 kilograms on average. I still dream of having an accurate Carcharodontosaurus in a movie. This guy is such a baddie, he got a whole family of giant theropods named after him. The South African titan.
By the way, guys, what is your favorite megatheropod? Mine is Carcharodontosaurus, of course. He just explained why he's such a baddie. He's got a whole family, or the family with the most megatheropods literally named after him.
A Carcharodontosaurid from South Africa, hence the name, might be the biggest of the 9th tier. Described in 2011 from an incomplete tooth that was described as among the widest measurements from any theropod teeth around, its 7-ton weight estimate is nothing to sneeze at. If there was ever a world war where each country's armies were decided by the owners of incomplete fossil teeth discovered within their borders, South Africa would be just fine. Okay, here's Tyranotitan jubutensis.
Now it gets interesting. Tyranotitan is around probably 6.7 metric tons to just over 7 metric tons. There were some estimates for 7.7 metric tons, I believe. However, there is one specimen that is the MPEFPV 10821 that is pretty fragmentary. However, it could be 9 metric tons. However, it's also unreliable, this one right here.
I've said on the channel before, and I stand by my statement that Tyranotitan is probably the coolest generic name for a theropod I've ever heard. Tyrant Titan? You can't get any more Elder Dragon video game boss than that. Unless someone finds a giant theropod with huge horns and names it Nico Bolas or something. Dang, that's a good idea. Anyway, Tyranotitan...
I think if I had to name a theropod, guys, I'd straight name it after Darkest Helios from Bakugan. Straight up, definitely. Because Helios was so badass in Bakugan that naming a theropod after him would be incredible. Or just call it Helios Darkos. Or maybe the other way around, but I'd say Helios Darkos. The Black Helios. Or Dark Helios.
It doesn't just have a cool name. It's also an incredible animal in general. It lived in Argentina in the early Cretaceous, had wicked neural spines, and weighed over 7,100 kilograms. Good candidate for a spirit animal, honestly. Mapusaurus rose is another...
The size estimates are still pretty good. Around that 7 to 8 metric tons for Mapusaurus. Yeah, it's right now probably the second biggest animal from the predator's perspective in Huinkel Formation. Once we hit the destroyer here, I'm showing you the specimen.
South American giant. It had to be. It lived with and potentially hunted Argentinosaurus, one of the largest sauropods of all time. It may actually be the direct anagenetic ancestor of the more recent Giganotosaurus, so that's pretty cool. It was discovered in a bone bed that contained the remains of up to 9 individuals of varying sizes and ages, with potential implications for group behavior in megatheropods. Overall,
I thought it was 12 specimen, not 9.
An awesome animal. Speaking of awesome animals, here's what might be a Spinosaurus. We're really not
No idea which Spinosaurus this is.
sure anymore, but VSNM V4047 is at least some kind of Spinosaurian. It's a huge partial rostrum that infers an individual longer than 14 meters and about 7,800 kilograms. Whether it's a Spinosaurus or just a close relative, it was certainly enormous. Now, how about actual Spinosaurus? Maybe.
Yeah, as I already said, could be up to 8.38 metric tons. At Detour commented this right here. Spinosaurus, Carcharodontosaurus, Mapusaurus, Meraxes in that order. Well, Meraxes could be potentially up to 9 tons, so would be even bigger than the Macranesis, maybe.
So scared to talk about this animal now, since everything we know about it could change before this video is even released. It's difficult to determine what an average adult for this species is, since the holotype was destroyed, the neotype isn't even fully grown, and everything else is super fragmentary. I'm going to be pretty liberal here and use the NHMUK specimen as calculated by Dan Folks, since we're pretty darn sure it's a fully grown adult. It's supposedly comparable to the VSNM specimen, so that's another enormous Spinosaur. But who really knows? Alright, here we are, the biggest of the big, the scariest of the scary, the rulers of the theropod kingdom. I'm sure you've already figured out what critters made it this far, so let's jump into it.
So, before we get into Giganotosaurus carolini, so this is the new skeletal by Dan Folks, 2025 skeletal in fact. The holotype could be anywhere from, I think, was it 8.4 metric tons to 9 metric tons or 9.2. Let's see what you guys commented. Yeah, the 10.2 metric tons, that's definitely the dentary specimen. Yeah, 8.4 to 8.8 tons. So now this is not the best quality here, but the red specimen should be that Meraxi specimen called MMCHPV79. That's the Meraxi specimen right here, because I know the MUCPV98 is the Giganotosaurus specimen. This one could be up to 9 metric tons, and it was speculated that it was 15% bigger than the holotype Giganotosaurus. However, with the new size upgrade of the Giganotosaurus, Meraxis and the Giga holotype are about the same size now.
Dinosaurus carolini, Giganotosaurus, Giganotosaurus just sounds better, dang it. Fight me, Cole.
Yeah, I'm still going with Giganotosaurus because of ancient Greek or Latin pronunciation.
On Trevorrow. Either way, the Giga is indeed gigantic. Based on a composite of 5 different volumetric analyses, including the new GDI by Dan that puts the paratype at 10.4 tons, I calculated an average mass for the taxon of 8,420 kilograms. Discovered the same year as the first Jurassic Park film was released, Giganotosaurus represents the largest species of the theropod group with the largest average mass. Carcharodontosaurs were huge. Size estimates for Giga in particular have been all over the place ever since it was discovered, and I'm sure that they'll continue to change, but right now an 8.4 ton average seems pretty solid. It's quite a jump from 2013 when Scott Hartman provided that weight as a liberal estimate for the paratype. And now, for the king. Tyrannosaurus rex has ruled the public.
This is probably the Scottish specimen right here. So, Copium rex is the biggest specimen currently, which would probably be around 10 metric tons plus. Some say a maximum of 12 metric tons. However, there is a newer size estimate around, 11.7 metric tons, around that maximum. And the Giganotosaurus lower dentary specimen is also upgraded to over 11 metric tons, so still slightly behind the Copium rex. Also, Tyrannosaurus Big Bertha, we haven't heard anything about the size of her, no idea. So if you guys know anything about Big Bertha, comment down below. If I've forgotten to mention any dinosaur, please also comment down below, or if you have better size estimates. So let's see what he's gonna say about the T-Rex.
Public consciousness for over a century, and our understanding of it has changed dramatically. Gone is the awkward, weirdly humanoid iguana replaced by clever, powerful, agile, and dynamic predator that can crush metal in its jaws and track prey from miles away. Interestingly enough, Tyrannosaurus is the only tyrannosaur with consistent size estimates higher than 5,000 kilograms. Zhusheng Tyrannus and Tarbosaurus tend to hover around the 4-ton mark on average, making T-Rex more than twice their mass. The evolutionary and environmental pressures that resulted in one member of a family snowballing into such a gigantic predator must have been intense, but it makes...
Yeah, well, T. macraensis wasn't described back then. He's also around 8 metric tons, maybe a bit less, maybe a bit more, maybe even around 9 metric tons. So the current list would be Tyrannosaurus rex, Giganotosaurus carolini, or with that size it currently has, I'm gonna call it Biganotosaurus carolini because it keeps getting bigger. So Tyrannosaurus rex, Giganotosaurus carolini, Meraxis, or Tyrannosaurus macraensis on 3rd and 4th place, interchangeable because of size estimates. I'm using the upper size estimates I've heard currently. Then Spinosaurus and Carcharodontosaurus. That would be the current placings. Also, there is another theropod, the Brazilian giant, which could be even bigger than Tyrannosaurus rex. However, it is highly fragmentary. The Vividin actually made a video about it 9 months ago, I think. So check that out if you're interested. We don't know that much about it yet though, so that's a bit of a problem. Any infos about the Brazilian megatheropod, please write it down below in the comments.
Resulted in one member of the family snowballing into such a gigantic predator must have been intense, but it makes sense when we look at the heavily armored living fortresses that T-Rex shared its world with. Giants like Triceratops and Ankylosaurus would have laughed at any lesser predator. To paraphrase Wolverine, T-Rex was the best at what it did, and what it did wasn't very nice. A disclaimer is necessary here. Based on 11 confirmed adult specimens and specimens of adult size across 14 different sources, T-Rex's average adult mass was 8,764 kilograms. That's less than 400 above Giganotosaurus, at a difference of only 4%. Given the margin of error of these studies, along with the nature of mass estimation for extinct taxa in general, it's entirely possible that the gap between these two species could be smaller, or non-existent, or even...
Yeah, you can definitely see a better jawline in Giganotosaurus here. And the animal is also a bit taller than T-Rex on average compared to body weight, I think.
It's entirely possible that the gap between these two species could be smaller, or non-existent, or even in the other direction. We have a much larger sample size of Tyrannosaurus specimens than we do of Giganotosaurus. Maybe Giga was much smaller than we thought, or much larger. The paucity of the fossil record simply forces us to shrug and say this is our best guess. Well, there you have it.
So, hopefully he does an update. Current specimens to consider that could break even the current Copium Rex estimates would be just the Brazilian giant and the big Bertha Tyrannosaurus. Or the big Giga specimen, who knows. Comment if I forgot any theropod here. Comment any infos I have not mentioned in this video, and any input you have, just comment it down below, and I'll see you guys very soon. Take care. That's it for this video. Smash the thumbs up, the bell and the subscribe, as only legends do that, and I know you all are. I am also currently looking for an editor. If you want to join, just send an email to official.megaraptor@gmail.com. Add a YouTube link of an unlisted video of a 30 to 60 second clip using one of my voiceovers or even your own voiceover with some pictures and videos of the dinosaurs and other prehistoric animals talked about in the voiceover. I would also recommend adding some movement to the video, such as zooms, transitions and so on. You can add some memes for bonus points.
I'm different. I am the one that can see John Cena.
For more Megaraptor, there is also the German channel. Also check out Instagram for fitness motivation and inspiration, as I'm on a mission to help more people get fit. Furthermore, you can also check out Twitter to hear my thoughts on all kinds of dinosaur stuff. And with that, I wish you a splendid day or evening. Goodbye.